Rise and fall of ArcheAge.
So it has been a couple of days since I put out a YouTube video on this channel. I do apologize. I do have some more music coming out on PG.
Dude, I remember whenever ArcheAge came out, it was like during Cataclysm, and I remember I had a friend of mine like he was playing it, and then he was playing it with like another friend of mine who became a streamer, and he was playing it with that streamer. It was like kind of funny to see it happen. And I was watching them play, and I was thinking to myself, fuck, I want to play this game. This game looks awesome.
Music, the link's up there in the corner. That's not today's video. Today's video, we're going to talk about Cacao Games. We're going to talk about ArcheAge and how they have made the difficult decision, after careful consideration and evaluation of various factors, that they are going to announce the official shutdown of ArcheAge EU NA effective June 27th.
That's
of this year.
insane.
Well, nobody's really surprised. I'm not surprised. I think they're down to one server. I think they merged Legacy and Unchained after they said under Gamigo Games they would never do that. So right now we're going to talk about why ArcheAge failed. And if you don't care about ArcheAge, down here on this bar somewhere, there's going to be a talking point about games in general and why they fail.
Oh, yeah.
So why did ArcheAge fail? Well, first and foremost, it failed right almost out of the box.
I feel like the reason why everybody that I know said it failed is because it was pay to win. They added some sort of pay-to-win feature into the game that eroded the integrity of the game, and then people stopped caring about it. Like, I hope you guys know, there is a good chance that Ashes of Creation might not exist if ArcheAge was still a good game. Apparently, Steven from Ashes of Creation was like this massive ArcheAge fan, and he quit the game, and it was such fucking bullshit. He said, you know what, I'm just going to make my own. Yeah, I'm just going to do my own thing.
Because of Tryon Worlds. Yeah. Tryon Worlds under Scott Hartzman had a very aggressive pay-to-win campaign. Over monetization, very aggressive. And the problem is that I can't blame Tryon Worlds for all of that, because a lot of the problems with ArcheAge is the pay-to-win. And when we talk about pay-to-win, we talk about pay-to-win involves creating the problem to sell the solution.
Another word for that is called Lost Ark. Yeah, so a lot of games do this. It's the same as like in Honkai Star Rail. Why is it that you can only do 3 echoes of war per week? Why is it that you have a certain amount of energy and you can't infinitely farm relics? It's because they want you to spend money. Contrast that with Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, where you can do infinitely many runs. You can even autoplay multiple runs, and there's no problem. It's the monetization structure of the game, and that's the way it's designed.
And this is what XL Games had done in the game coding. They created certain problems like regrades, which need regrade charms, so they could sell them. It also had to do with mismanagement. Tryon Worlds was completely inept at, number one, properly managing their servers, getting server queues right all the way back at launch. We have it in place so that we're going to be able to spin up servers as needed.
There's also like another big factor is this game looks like shit. There's a lot of games from like the 2011 era of games that like there's a certain type of low quality gameplay. Like I feel, and this might sound crazy, but I feel like Super Nintendo graphics aged really well. Nintendo 64 graphics did not age really well. GameCube graphics aged pretty well. Wii graphics didn't age very well. And it feels like almost every other generation ages well or doesn't age well. And I feel like ArcheAge was part of that brand of games that did not age well. PS1 did neither? Okay, yeah, it's the triangle
why,
shit.
If you had 4 days of early access, didn't you know how many people were trying to play? Why did you have queues of 13,000 people? You know, there's just mismanagement over and over and over again. And then, of course, greed. For those of you that aren't familiar with what was going on with Tryon Worlds...
Well, there's also the factor that this looks like dog shit, and it looks awful, and the gameplay looks terrible, and there's no reason why anybody would play this instead of just playing another MMO. Right? Like, why would you pick this game up instead of WoW? Why would you pick this game up instead of RuneScape? Why would you pick this game up instead of Final Fantasy XIV? Or Lost Ark? Or New World even, right?
at the time.
But at the time, it was amazing.
Had acquired all of Gazillion's
or BDO
assets because this is their slide. Tryon had this idea that they were going to be the next Steam, but they were going to be Steam but better. So Tryon overextended on Gazillion's assets, weren't able to properly execute, weren't able to make money. They needed more money.
All these shitheads are only making their own launcher service so they can avoid having to pay Steam a fee, which I can understand, and I think that's fair for them to do that. But the problem is that with a lot of these different launchers, they have a lot of things that are annoying. So, like, for example, Epic Games pushes a lot of pop-ups and a lot of, like, reminders for things, and Steam never does that. So the problem with, like, these things is that it's a business product that's being created in service of the business rather than the customer. And that's why it's dying. You can never make a business product that's not in service of the customer and have it not die. Too many Steam sales pop up every time I open it. No, you don't understand. I get what you're saying, but I'm talking about additional pop-ups like down. Like, you guys don't get pop-ups from Epic Games Launcher if you have it? Like right about here where it's like telling you to buy a new game? Because I get that all the time. I do. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? Or like, remember whenever that one girl was like doing a deathless run or a no-hit run from Dark Souls, I think it was Dark Souls 3, and she got a mandatory pop-up from Battle.net telling her to buy Diablo 4? Steam, I don't think has ever done that to me. And maybe it happened one time in 2013 and I forgot it.
Rift and ArcheAge were really their only two products. Trove hadn't grown at the time, so they were looking for money. Then it goes over to Gamigo Games. ArcheAge gets sent to Gamigo to distribute as an acquisition of assets. And unfortunately for Gamigo Games, they hired Crolin, who is the other half of this problem. Gamigo Games had pay to win. They had pay to win issues. They tried to launch ArcheAge Unchained, which wasn't going to have pay to win. They said if you buy ArcheAge Unchained, you're never going to have to buy the expansions. You're never going to have to buy.
Well, but they said they weren't going to have pay to win, but if I remember right, they did. That's true, right?
By the DLC. Lo and behold, 9 months later, they'd broken that agreement. Crolin told us all these things about how Unchained was a new product in partnership with Gamigo Games, with XL Games. That was all false. They didn't understand what the bugs were. They didn't understand things that were missing. Crolin did a live stream just before the launch of Unchained, lied to the consumer base, dismissed consumer concerns, and then basically he ended up now over at Amazon Game Studios. He's got
That's crazy. That's crazy. And now Lost Ark. Yeah, that's crazy. Guys, that's crazy.
Got some fancy job title. The really big problem is I think Throne and Liberty is going to flop. If Crolin's involved in it,
I think that is Throne and Liberty going to flop. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I am hopelessly, pointlessly, and full of copium, but I am still hoping that the Lord of the Rings Amazon MMO game is going to be good. I talked to somebody at Amazon. I was like, can you tell me anything about it? They said, it's fucking NDA. No, shut up. I don't have any information yet, but I do really want it.
Is speaking, he's probably
delusional
lying
then. Yes.
to you.
Yes, I am.
His track record says that.
Yes, I'm delusional.
And then we get Cacao Games. They get the ArcheAge product back.
Well, I mean, a PDO is pay to win, right? I mean, and it's not like the pay to win is extremely prohibitive because it's so expensive, but it is by definition pay to win.
And their greed and lack of foresight has, I don't know what it's done to a couple of things. If you didn't see this video, Cacao Games almost immediately after getting the ArcheAge product back stole the players' credits, forced them to take deals in rebates and equivalent exchanges that weren't equivalent. That video talks about all of it. And now we've got Kakao Games, and what is shuttering ArcheAge 1? What is all the things they've done with the ArcheAge 1 players done? And what's its impact on ArcheAge 2?
See, this is what matters, because a lot of you guys might not remember this because it happened, I think, about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. But ArcheAge 2 was announced, and the trailer for ArcheAge 2 was massively popular. People were really happy about it. I remember the day it came out, I was over at Chance's house, and like, I didn't play ArcheAge, but I think that he did. And he was telling me, he's like, I'm actually super excited for this game. And I had no idea. So this does worry me, because I want to be excited about ArcheAge 2.
Where ArcheAge 2 has delayed until 2026. Videos up there. Not talking about ArcheAge 2 today, but it does make me wonder, does Kakao really believe people are going to trust them now with the shuttering of ArcheAge?
They absolutely will. If Kakao wants people to trust them, what they need to do is they need to have a trailer with good graphics and a character with big boobs, and then people will buy the game. That's all they need to do. Because really, this consulting is free, by the way. They don't have to pay me for this.
To support, what, 2 servers?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11 is 20 some odd years old, and they're still supporting a handful of servers. Don't make it about money. With that said, a lot of this comes from the sustainability of live service games. If you haven't seen this slide going around the internet, this is 70% of developers have concerns about the sustainability of current.
This is very telling. I actually really like this because it's a graph, and I like graphs. But what are your main concerns about the sustainability of live service business models? 63% says players are losing interest in live service games. And this is a questionnaire given to game developers. Wow.
Live service business models. And, okay, I don't understand why. Let's do some math. The value of 1 million customers. 1 million box sales customers, or 1 million subscription customers.
Okay.
At $30 a pop, if you have 1 million sales, you'll make $30 million. At $50 a sale, you'll make $50 million. But at a $15 a month monthly sub, right? The first month you've made 15 million, second 30 million, 45, 60, and so on. Now, before anybody jumps in and says, but Jay, populations decline, you're right. You're absolutely right. Populations decline. And let's talk about population decline at a 50% fall off. You have 1 million players the first month. You have 500K the second month, 250K the third month, 125 the fourth month. And at that point, we're going to say the game is a failure. We've dipped down below what a sustainable population is. So we've only made 28 million. So when you put this together in front of the wrong people,
that's good math.
Game companies, what they're going to say is, this is the smart solution. Let's not worry about live service support. Let's worry about box price. And then this is going to lead us into, let's worry about cash shops, cosmetics.
I think that's what the future is going to be. It's either going to be a free-to-play game, or it's going to be a box sale with microtransactions. I don't think that we're going to see another subscription-based game. I don't know if Ashes of Creation is going to try to do it. I think that WoW and Final Fantasy 14 are like so grandfathered in that people are kind of okay with it. But asking people, especially nowadays in the age of subscriptions, asking people to take on another monthly payment, I think that's a really, really big ask. And I feel like it's such a barrier to entry that I don't think it's reasonable at this point. I don't. What about the League MMO? I think that the guys over at Riot realized the fact that, like, I don't know, like, the moment I can, like, I would love to talk with them. I would love to talk to them and like get some insight into it. League MMO is dead. Yeah.
Optional things.
Maybe not, but, you know, at least for now it's said.
Why? Why are you losing 50% of your players month after month after month? Why are you worried about getting all of your money out of the players on day one in a box price, and then you're not worrying about retention? In fact, if you have a box price with no subscription, they don't want retention because you cost them money connecting to their servers.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's actually a really good point that he's bringing up here. He's saying that basically the company actually actively doesn't give a shit if you keep playing after you buy the game because they already have your money, and it's even a disadvantage if you keep playing. It's
because
super cynical, but yeah,
making shit games.
Oh
yes, company.
I've seen
if you're
this.
only going to sell 1 million copies of your game, why are you developing a game with only 1 million sales as a target goal?
I think that 1 million sales of a game is a tremendously, massively successful game. Like, 1 million sales is really, really good, especially if you're charging a box price premium of $40.
For 1 million initial players. New World, I believe, had 973,000 concurrent players in its first month. That's not a lot of players. Not if you're honestly trying to say you sold 4 million copies.
That's not very good argumentation because concurrent players is not reflective to total sales. The amount of total sales of New World was in the millions because Amazon referenced it, I think, about 3 months ago in an article they were that was written about them with like their prospects of future games. So that's actually not true. And also like concurrent players, like for example, like here's a good example. The stream. Right now there are 25,000 people watching the stream. Okay? So if there's 25,000 people watching a stream, does that mean I have 25,000 followers? No, I've got more than that. So think about that. There are a lot more people following that are just not watching right now.
Copies of the game, or 16 million copies of the game, where did the players go? Or is it because companies are greedy? I think this might be a little bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Companies want money now. They don't want money over the next 20 years.
Well, yeah, and it's also like, again, it's more compelling for a company to have a very big marketing push and then rely on box sales and then residual microtransactions rather than relying on a subscription. Because a subscription is also a method of accountability that customers can keep companies accountable to. Because if a lot of people aren't enjoying the current state of the game, they can simply unsubscribe. So I think this is very true.
Or is it developers are simply out of touch with reality? And I think this is getting
easier
closer
to move
to the
on
truth.
and not commit. Yeah.
Gamers want good games.
Well, of course.
Mike Ybarra, former president of Blizzard, made a statement that he thinks tipping game creators $10 or $20 on top of a $70 price is a great idea. Some games are that special. When I beat a game, there are always some that leave me in awe of how amazing the experience was. At the end of the game, I've often thought, I wish I could give these folks another $10 or $20 because it was worth more than my initial $70, and they didn't try to nickel and dime me every second. Games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring. Well, here's a thought. If you want to give the game company another $10 or $20, why don't you buy one of their other titles that's on discount at $10 or $20? Why don't you buy another copy of the game? Give it to somebody. We don't need to do tipping culture because how much of that money is actually going to get to the developer?
He's right. I mean, like, again, and I don't think Mike Ybarra was like really, I don't think it was a bad thing for him to say this, but like, it's like what I said before, where it was just the wrong thing at the wrong time from the wrong guy who used to work at the wrong company. It's like if Microsoft Flight Simulator announced a New York update to the game on September 11th. It's just not the right time.
Developers anyway. And then this worries me because you're the former president of Blizzard. Why not just pay the developers more and have the company take less?
Yeah.
My belief is if you pay $30 for a game, you should get 30 hours out of that game. It should be about $1 an hour for entertainment.
I think this depends. I think this is in general, like a $1 an hour benchmark is like kind of good, but I also think the quality of gameplay matters. Like, for example, I spent way more hours in Starfield than Armored Core 6, but I enjoyed my time in Armored Core 6 more. But as a rough benchmark, I think this is fair, and it also depends on how you enjoy the game.
If you pay $70 for the game, you should get about 70 hours out of the game, and that's a good value for the entertainment. Now, I'd like to talk about a game real quick. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, the DLC. I absolutely got my money's worth out of Cyberpunk because not only did I do 2 run-throughs when the game first came out.
Oh, wow.
When they released the Phantom Liberty expansion, I did a complete additional run-through. I saw that Phantom Liberty at one point sold 5 million copies. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Is CD Projekt Red making a huge mistake not doing another DLC to a product that is hot, that people want? They want another DLC for. They want V to have his happy ending. Yes, I think they're making a terrible mistake. But you see companies that are saying, you know what? We've made a game. We've told the story we wanted to tell. We don't need to do another DLC just for the money.
That. Yeah,
Baldur's Gate 3, absolutely phenomenal game. Hit game, probably the new gold standard for single-player game experiences.
It is.
They're done with Baldur's Gate 3. There's no more. There's no more coming. They're moving on to other projects. Again, I think a horrible experience, a horrible idea. I think the game was great. It has replayability.
I think that it's only a horrible idea from the perspective of like a fan. But I think that also, like, you have a situation where I think in a lot of cases, the people that made Baldur's Gate 3 or the guys that wrote Cyberpunk 2077, these are incredibly creative and, like, spontaneous people generally. And I think that trying to force more and more content out of something, I think it kills a lot of creativity. It does. And it makes it feel like it's not as, like the lightning isn't in the bottle. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. So sometimes people might feel like they're done telling the story and that's the end of the story. Like you don't have to just keep making more and more and more of them. I think the best example of this is Bloodborne. There's no Bloodborne 2. If there ever is, then that'd be great. But there doesn't have to be. And there also doesn't need to be. Sekiro as well? Yeah, true.
I would love to have seen more DLC for it. I would have loved to have seen a Baldur's Gate 4, seen something else.
Here's another argument that I have for my point. How many 2000s comedies have in the last 7 years had a remake of the comedy, and you really wish they didn't?
It's not coming. These are companies that are making good games. They're not trying to nickel and dime us. I think if game studios, 70% of them are worried about live service, I think they're worried about making good quality games because they're afraid they're going to have 50% fall off every month for the first 4 months. Looking at you, New World. You invested millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into your game, but you can't keep a player base of more than 10,000 concurrent players. It's not our fault. It's not the player's fault. You made a shitty game. So instead of trying to get all your money out of us in a box price for a shitty game, Dragon's Dogma 2, looking at you, Cap.
Oh, hey, I thought Dragon's Dogma 2 was a great game, but it did have the bullshit microtransactions, which is fair.
That game is terrible.
I loved it.
But they already got everybody $70.
They did.
$60, whatever it was. They got everybody's money.
I loved it.
It doesn't have to be a game. They already have your money. If game developers are worried about the sub model, it's because they're worried about making good games. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you disagree.
I do think he's wrong. And I don't think that, like, I think that he's wrong for not the reason that people might think that he's wrong. I think that it's just simply because customers and the market in general has subscription fatigue. I don't think that it has anything to do with like one individual game. I think that almost anything introducing a new service that's paid for monthly would be met with the same type of size, frustration, and annoyance, even if it's something that people might enjoy, because right now, a lot of people have like 7 subscriptions. And it's not like you just have your subscriptions because you have other like meta level regular purchases like a phone bill or gas, or I guess is a really good idea, but like utilities. So like think about how many recurring things that you have to pay for all the time, and people are getting strapped for cash. Internet, yeah, there's another one. You're paying for like 9 different other fucking services across. Like again, think about all of the little things. Like World of Warcraft, Netflix, Twitter Blue. Let's go, guys. Get some lists out. Not just different streaming services, but other stuff. OnlyFans, Spotify, Prime, car insurance, Amazon Prime. Oh yeah, Amazon Prime. Yeah, there you go. ChatGPT, Midjourney, HBO Go, YouTube Premium, Tidal, Adobe, Twitch subs. Like, what is this? Like, dude, it's like you're getting. It's like one of those whales that gets eaten. It's like a whale fall, and it's like down, and all these little fucking fish are eating the whale, and that's your fucking life, and Jesus Christ. That's what it is.
Agree. Leave your comments below. I'll see you next time.
We're getting eaten alive. I understand what he's saying about thinking that subscriptions are because companies are not confident in their games. And I think that there's a degree of that's true. But I also think that culturally, people don't want to have another subscription. This guy's a pretty small content creator, so try to make this, give him a like if you like the video. This is pretty fair. Getting nickel and dimed at every corner. Like, what's this going to mean for ArcheAge 2? Like, I'll tell you what it's going to mean for ArcheAge 2. It means the game's probably going to be pay to win. It's going to be a pay to win piece of shit. Why do I think that? I think that because every other game that's recently come out has also been a pay to win piece of shit. Now, I really, really, really hope that I'm wrong. But guys, I don't think I will be. Yeah, I really don't think so at all. The pattern is there. Yeah, the pattern is there, man. Like, it's the same thing that happened. I played for Chrono Odyssey. Well, you've got Chrono Odyssey. I don't know if Vindictus is going to be an MMO. Like, it was the last Vindictus game was an MMO, but this one seems like it wasn't. I don't know. And then you have ArcheAge 2. You have the Chrono Odyssey. I don't know if I counted that one or not. There's Throne and Liberty. Like, there's a lot of these games, man. And it's just disappointing that, like, every MMO that, like, comes out, like, every single one of them seems like it's pay to win in some way or another. It's so, I mean, to me, it's so exhausting. Like, am I crazy? Like, it's just so fucking exhausting to see that. The Dune game, yeah, exactly. Like, what is even going on? At times it's the only way they make money, sadly. Yeah, I guess so. And, like, people really, I don't know what you can do to stop people from just, like, paying to win in these games. In a big way, I feel like it's not even possible. It's not going to happen until it becomes unsustainable. I do think that there are so many, I feel like live service games are, like, a lot of live service games are effectively the, like, they're effectively subscriptions, like with battle passes and other things like that. So what ends up happening, well, guess what? Well, they're going to see that and they're like, oh, I don't want to play another live service game because live service games come with recurring costs. Even if some of the games don't have recurring costs, a lot of them end up basically, people are spending them and spending money on a recurring basis. I'll be right back. I need to use the bathroom.